Okay guys, welcome back to my channel. This is my newest F1 video. Today I am going to talk about future F1 champions, yes or no edition. So just a quick little side note, if you're interested in some of my other F1 work, such as F1 track tiers and my ideal 2021 F1 calendar, the links to those videos will be down in the description box. And another quick little side note, quick little information related to this video. I decided to include both the rookies. Yes, I will give them my premature early judgment. And I decided to include also the ex-F1 champions, including the current reigning, defending, undisputed F1 champion Lewis Hamilton. So basically all the 20 guys on the grid will be represented in this video. So let's get right into this. Let's start with our judgment. Let's judge Nikita Mazepin first. So Nikita, we have a problem here. Even if this guy develops into a top 7, top 8 driver, a borderline top 3 team driver, I don't think those teams will be attracted to sign him because, obviously, because of his personality and because of his fighter. So it's kind of a paradox because smaller teams are interested in a guy like Nikita Mazepin or let's say Lance Stroll, but bigger teams, I don't think Mercedes, Ferrari, Red Bull are really truly interested in a better version of Nikita Mazepin. So I think the easy answer here is no, because obviously he will stay in Haas and there is no way he's winning a championship in Haas. By the way, we will just put a no or a yes on people's foreheads, so that's the way I judge people. Next up, we have his teammate Mick Schumacher. So I just want to say a couple of things here. We have only had 3 F1 champions in the past 11 seasons, only 7 in the past 21 seasons. So as you can see, obviously, it's hard to become an F1 champion. And when I see these guys are absolute predators when it comes to stepping into a car and dominating, delivering performance. And even when we are talking about the potential future F1 champions, Charles Leclerc, Max Verstappen, these guys stepped in a car and dominated. Max Verstappen stepped in a Red Bull and won his first race in his first race. Charles Leclerc beat Sebastian Vettel in his rookie season in Ferrari. Lewis Hamilton beat Fernando Alonso in his first season in F1. So these guys are beasts. And when I see Mick Schumacher, he's kind of a second-year achiever. And I can see a pattern in which he does end up in Ferrari and becomes this Nico Rosberg type of a second driver to, let's say, Charles Leclerc. I can see that. And if the Ferrari really becomes a championship-winning car after, let's say, Lewis Hamilton retires, I can see that Charles Leclerc has some bad luck. Mick kind of gets in his head and Mick, squeezes out one championship. But I have to stay with my gut feeling, and I will say no. I'm sorry, Mick. I hope you become successful, but we will stay with no. No pressure here, just no. Next up, we have Nicholas Latifi. Well, I don't really want to waste your time, guys, so I just say no because of obvious reasons. I think when you look at Nicholas Latifi, he's not that bad. He wasn't that bad. So when we're talking about F1 champions, when we say he wasn't that bad, well, that's not really a good sign for a future F1 champion. But his teammate is a huge potential. Now, I can see some patterns in George Russell's career. He gets these weird, unlucky things from the sky, from divine intervention. I don't know what's happening there. And he kind of makes mistakes in crucial situations. But I think it's because he has this huge pressure to score his first F1 points. So I can see George kind of boiling away, kind of cracking under pressure, kind of effing up maybe the last race of the season and potential championship winning situation. But I think George Russell will be an F1 champion. I mean, this guy is really fast. I mean, he will be a top 3 driver after Lewis Hamilton retires with, I think, Max and Charles Leclerc. So easily George Russell is going to win championship. Next up, we have Antonio Giovinazzi. So just like Nicholas Latifi, I don't really want to waste your time talking about these just a guy riders, because when I look at Antonio, he's really just a guy. I mean, he's kind of there. He's kind of 50-50 with Kimi Raikkonen. And when you are 50-50 against a 41-year-old guy who got pretty much destroyed by his teammate in the past 5 seasons or 6 seasons, whatever, in Ferrari, yeah, easy no. And his teammate Kimi Raikkonen. So I maybe have a little bit controversial take on Kimi Raikkonen, but I won't waste your time because it is his last season, so I just decided to put a no on his forehead because it's like the easy thing to do. Obviously, he's not winning a championship in an Alfa Romeo, but as I said, I maybe have a little bit of a controversial opinion on Kimi Raikkonen, and I think I will make another video on him a couple of days later. So let's go to Alpha Tauri, Yuki Tsunoda. So there is a couple of different opinions when it comes to Yuki Tsunoda. Is he in F1 because of Honda, or is he in F1 because he's a really skilled driver? So it's a little bit of 50-50 thing. But I think Yuki is a talented guy, but his situation is awful. The last thing I would like to be is a driver stepping off in an AlphaTauri, because your first enemy, your first boss is a race winner, Pierre Gasly. So the first thing he has to do is kind of be equal or maybe even beat Pierre Gasly, which is not an easy thing to do. And then you arrive to your super boss, Max Verstappen. And Max Verstappen, what Max Verstappen does is he chews up and spits out guys, and the guys never return to being the same, except maybe Pierre Gasly. So I think Yuki Tsunoda has this unfortunate fate of being in the wrong place at the wrong time, so I think the answer here is no. Now, next up, we have his teammate. Now, this is interesting. My first, a little bit of a harder decision, because when you look at Pierre Gasly, he's a little bit under of these megastars, right? But he has some talent, and he has shown some improvement. But to me, he's kind of a Nico Hülkenberg with a race win guy. So a little bit bulked up version of Nico Hülkenberg. Haha, what a pun. Nice job, Sebastian. So he has this race win, but he kind of isn't that good. I mean, I understand that AlphaTauri was probably the 6th or the 7th best car on the grid, but he was kind of getting beaten by Daniel Kvyat by the end of the season. After that race win, he wasn't really doing that much. So I can see some flaws in Pierre's game, and I don't see an opening. I don't see a path of him winning an F1 championship. I think he will be stuck in midfield, and he will have to do something like Sergio Perez did. So just steady improve for like 10 years, and maybe then he will get a shot at being a number 2 driver. So I think the obvious answer here is no. Next up, we have a Lance Stroll. You know the meme, the future F1 champion Lance Stroll. Now, okay, we all know what's the easy answer. We all know what's the easy answer here, but I just want to give some props to Lance Stroll. I think this guy is a great rain driver. Like, remember when he started on first row in Monza 2017? Remember when he was 4th in Germany 2019? Remember when he got pole position in Turkey 2020 and led half of the race? So this guy is a good to great rain driver, and that's, intangible how to become an F1 champion, but he does have huge flaws in his game. I really don't like his inconsistency. I don't like that he cannot, cut through the field. He's something like a Valtteri Bottas. You know how Lewis Hamilton just, gets a penalty in Monza and then just starts overtaking people left and right. But Valtteri Bottas is kind of stuck behind a car who's half a second slower than him. So I think Stroll, you can watch the Abu Dhabi race, was really stuck behind Sebastian Vettel, and he shouldn't really be stuck behind Sebastian Vettel. I mean, I understand that it's a hard track to overtake, but you really shouldn't be stuck behind a Ferrari in 2020. So I think the obvious answer here is no. Now we have his teammate Sebastian Vettel. Oh boy, so maybe some of you will disagree, but I think Sebastian Vettel's career is done. He is done. He cannot be fixed. I don't think that a guy who makes so many mistakes, starting from Germany 2018, and even before that he made some mistakes, but starting from Germany 2018, and then he lost to Charles Leclerc, and then he got absolutely destroyed by Charles Leclerc, half a second, like the second biggest margin in quality behind Max Verstappen and Alex Albon. This guy was destroyed. 3-1 ratio when it comes to points. I don't think that this guy can come into another team with a questionable teammate when it comes to quality that won't really push him. So I guess Seb will beat Lance Stroll. But let's say for the sake of argument, Aston Martin becomes the second best team on the grid, like right behind Mercedes. But Seb, even if he becomes again this great Seb from 2010 to 2013. He will not have a teammate. He will be in a situation similar to Max Verstappen. So even if he kind of resurrects his career, he won't have a great teammate. And I don't think he will resurrect his career because there is no teammate to really push him. And I don't think this guy, I mean, he's a four-time world champion. To me, he's more of a coach, more of a chief strategy analyst. I mean, this guy understands racing, but he's not really that good in racing. He's good in spots. He was really good in Turkey. He was good in Spain, but I mean, he gets stuck. He's just making mistakes, and I don't see him. Honestly, here is a no on his forehead. Now, next up, we have another ex-F1 champion, Fernando Alonso. And this is funny because my initial thoughts were like, nah, Fernando, what the hell are you doing? But then I remember that there is a rule change in 2022. And when it comes to monumental rule changes, regulation changes, there is always this one year when the teams are completely mixed up. Let's remember 2008 and 2009. 2009 was this mess. Like Jenson Button from a car that wasn't even supposed to be on the grid was winning races. Red Bull from nothing came in and won races. McLaren nowhere. Ferrari nowhere. But after that, after one season in 2010, McLaren and Ferrari returned. Let's say 2013 and 2014. Red Bull in 2014, although Daniel Ricciardo won some races, but the current, or that time, the reigning champion, Sebastian Vettel, was nowhere to be found. Mercedes, although they were the second team, but they were far behind Red Bull, they showed up and they've won a bunch of races and won the championship. So there will be a shot. There will be a gap when it comes to Fernando Alonso winning a championship. Will it happen? My gut feeling says no. But maybe Alpine becomes the second best team, and maybe there will be a chance, and maybe Fernando will smell blood. And he has shown that he can win without a teammate. Although he did not win a championship without a teammate, he came really, really close to winning a championship in 2010 and 2012 without a teammate who's even remotely close to them. So I will give him a no, but I will give him a maybe. I'm not sure. I cannot close the book on Fernando Alonso. Now let's talk about his teammate Esteban Ocon. I don't understand why does the F1 community love this guy. I mean, to me, he's just a guy. He's an average driver. He's maybe the 11th or the 12th best driver on the grid. I mean, he was pretty much getting destroyed by Daniel Ricciardo in qualifying. He got one podium, which was kind of a mixture of a safety car and strategy. But to me, I mean, he's kind of nowhere. He's just a guy. He's there. Not that he's a bad driver, but he does not have anything that is special in him. So I think Fernando will pretty much eat him alive. And I understand that the one season off didn't really help Esteban Ocon. But you are supposed to really come back and win, not races, but I mean, at least be close to your teammate if you're a future F1 champion. So here's a note to our smiling Frenchman's forehead. Now, next up, we have this guy, Lando Norris. Now, I have a weird slash controversial slash unpopular opinion on Lando Norris. Now, let me be perfectly clear. I kind of find Lando Norris funny, but I also do not understand or do not see this guy being right now an F1 champion with his personality. And let me be perfectly clear. Tell me one elite, cut-edge, cutthroat athlete in any sport who has a goofy personality and who is winning championships. Now, I don't see any athlete being a goofy guy, joking around. I mean, there are some funny guys. There are some really funny guys in F1, and his teammate is really a funny guy, his future teammate. But Lando Norris, to me, is kind of like Novak Djokovic. If you watch tennis, Novak Djokovic in 2007, like this guy was just goofy. I mean, he was 20 years old. He was imitating Rafael Nadal. He was imitating Maria Sharapova. New balls, please. And he was just kind of joking around, goofing around, and he was good. He was really good. He was the second. He was the third. He was the fourth best tennis player in the world, but he wasn't that good. So I think Lando kind of has to switch his personality, become something like a Daniel Ricciardo, like a funny guy, a jokester, but not this, nerdy, goofy-looking guy. And I think if you would ask somebody like Martin Brundle, Peter Winsor, these old school guys, what do you truly think of Lando Norris? I don't think that they will be happy or they will approve his personality, I think they would pretty much agree with my take. But after all that, I think Lando Norris develops. I think Lando Norris becomes an F1 champion because Lando Norris will improve. I really liked his qualifying in Abu Dhabi. I really liked his race in Abu Dhabi. I can see some intangibles of this guy sticking around for 15 years and finally sniffing an opportunity and winning a championship. So here's my bold prediction. After all the shitting on Lando Norris, after all the criticism I gave him, I think Lando Norris will become an F1 champion. Now let's talk about his teammate. His mentor, the guy he's supposed to look up to when it comes to humor, because when it comes to looking as a grown adult and joking in the same time. Now, Daniel Ricciardo is in this tough situation. Daniel Ricciardo is getting older. And to me, if you look at F1 royalty, you have this island of F1 royalty. You have Lewis Hamilton, the king. You have Charles Leclerc and Max Verstappen, the princes. Not the princess, the princess. And you have Daniel Ricciardo as this fourth guy who's kind of trying to get on this island, kind of drowning on the beaches, trying to invade this island, but he keeps, falling behind. He went to Renault, which wasn't really a good team, and now he goes to McLaren. I mean, there is no guarantee that McLaren will be a really good team in 2021 or 2022. I mean, they have good management, they have good drivers, but nobody will guarantee you anything. So Daniel Ricciardo is getting older and he's getting behind. He's a race winner, but to me, he was always this fourth guy, as you can see. You see his records here, always is happy to get on the podium, not to win. I mean, it's kind of weird. He's always fourth in the races. He gets unlucky. He then again is fourth in the races. He's fourth in the championship, and then he's fifth in the championship. So Daniel Ricciardo misses something, misses maybe a tenth or two. I mean, there are some things that Daniel Ricciardo is special at when it comes to overtaking. He's probably the best overtaker in F1. But he's just, is it because of the pace? Is it because of the car? Is it because of the unlucky strings of events? I don't know, but I don't see Daniel Ricciardo becoming an F1 champion. I'm sorry, Daniel. I really love you, but no. Next up, we have the Monegasque Charles Leclerc. So Charles Leclerc is, of course, an easy choice when it comes to picking a future F1 champion. But here's the thing. He drives in a Ferrari. So Ferrari is kind of an incompetent team. They are becoming the Dallas Cowboys. If you guys watch the NFL, Ferrari is pretty much becoming the Dallas Cowboys, like this ex-giant who's always in the media, always in the center of attention, always talked about, but not producing results. So Charles Leclerc is this great driver in a declining team. And I don't think, breaking news, hot take, I don't think that Charles Leclerc will win a championship in a Ferrari. But he will win a championship in, as he likes to say, Mercedes. He will win a championship in Mercedes after Lewis Hamilton retires. So here's how it's going to pan out. Valtteri Bottas is gone by 2022, which is a spoiler. Okay. Lewis Hamilton sticks around, wins a couple more championships with George Russell. And then Charles Leclerc says, well, guys, I had enough in Ferrari. Charles Leclerc will have a similar career path in Ferrari as Sebastian Vettel, and he will end up in Mercedes, and he will battle it out with George Russell for numbers and numbers of F1 championships, and I think Charles Leclerc will win, 3 F1 championships. I think our Monegasque Prince will win 3 F1 championships. Now, we have his teammate, Carlos Sainz Jr. And poor Carlos, I don't see it. So here's why. He stepped in Formula 1 in 2015 with Max Verstappen, who was younger than him. And Max Verstappen just came in and just beat him. And then Max Verstappen was chosen in the Red Bull instead of Carlos Sainz. So the people are looking like, hey, Carlos, we have this younger guy. F you, man. We're just going to choose him. Like, we have this cool teenager. You're kind of good, but not that good, not that flashy, whatever. And then he drove for a couple of other teams. And then he's in a Ferrari. But Ferrari's already talking about Mick Schumacher. So again, basically, how people look at Carlos Sainz as this number 2 driver, is this replaceable driver who will kind of be there for 2-3 seasons, kind of will have some results, maybe some podiums, but he's not that good. And honest to God, I have the same opinion. I'm sorry, I have the same opinion of Carlos Sainz as these team principles. Because when I look at Carlos Sainz, he's the 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10 driver. He's good. He's really good, but he's nothing special. He does not have anything special. I mean, he was 50-50 against his teammate when it comes to qualifying, who was a rookie and was in his second year after that. So that's kind of weird. That's kind of not championship material. And I understand that Carlos is improving season by season, but I just don't see it. I think it's a tough situation. I think the Monza race was the perfect example. I think in Monza, in Carlos Sainz's car, in Carlos Sainz's situation, Lewis Hamilton, Max Verstappen, Charles Leclerc, Daniel Ricciardo probably, and even maybe Sergio Perez win that race. And Carlos Sainz didn't win that race. He came up just short because he is kind of an 8 out of 10 driver. So here's a no on his forehead. Next up, we have Max Verstappen. So I think this is the easiest pick here, although there can be some scenarios in which Red Bull never becomes this number one team. But obviously, Max has so much talent. To me, he's the second best driver on the grid right now. So I think Max Verstappen, an obvious yes on his forehead. Now, next up, we have his teammates. So this is interesting. This is really interesting. Do you think that Checo will be an F1 champion? I don't see it. I mean, he's improving. I think to me, he's maybe even better right now than Daniel Ricciardo, but he's getting older and he will have the toughest teammate in the world. Now, Checo has the record of beating and getting into his teammates' heads. And there is a possibility that Max has some DNFs when it comes to engine failures or something like that. And Checo has some great results and there's a smidge of an opportunity. But I think in a 21, 22, 23 race season, Max Verstappen is really relentless. I mean, Checo has great strengths of results, but Max, to me, Checo, I think the one thing that will not allow Checo to win a championship is his qualifying. To me, he's not that good of a qualifier, although he beat Lance Stroll decisively, but to me, he just always leaves a tenth or two on the field, on the track, or on the pitch, or whatever you want to call it. And Max Verstappen is really good in qualifying. So I think Checo, no, I'm sorry. Now, next up, we have Valtteri Bottas, and I kind of spoiled this already, so I just say no. And I think a bold prediction, Valtteri Bottas will be out of F1 by 2022. And we have our Photoshopped king, our Photoshopped prince. Look at the beard, look at the hair, look at the beautiful skin without any acne. Look at the earrings. I mean, he's just a model. I think Lewis Hamilton, this is obvious, this is easy. I think Lewis Hamilton, yes. And bold prediction, I think he will win 10 world championships exactly. And then he will go on and be a model or something like that. So yeah, Lewis Hamilton, 3 more championships, pretty easy. So thank you very much, guys. This was my F1 video. Let me think if you agree or disagree with me in the comment section. And cut.